Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown Podcast. You wait 10 years for an opening day victory and then two come along back to back. And after all this time, who knew it was so simple? Just play Swansea City. I'm joined by Tom and Matt on this one. And guys, to kick us off, please give me your one key takeout or your key tech out, as Matt put on the graphic accidentally. If anyone noticed that, please. We will get that sorted for the next one. What's your key takeout from yesterday's game? Tom, we'll start with you.
We're back, aren't we? No, I think my key takeout from that is it was a really, really positive start, I thought. But there is clearly a lot to improve on. And I mean, that's not a bad thing. Rob Edwards said it himself in the post-match interview. You know, things could be crisper in terms of passing. We could create a little bit more, but it's the first game of the season. And I think when used pre-season the way we have done, it's maybe going to take a little bit longer into the early part of the season to really get that understanding with the players. But you know, on a positive note, it's exactly the way you want to start the season. We scored off a set piece, which has been an absolute rarity for the last 3 years. And yeah, I just think everyone. I just think everyone came away from the Riverside yesterday, like the majority of people, a little bit more uplifted by the club at the moment, and that can only be a positive thing as well.
Matt?
Yeah, I think it was a really, really big result yesterday. I think given a lot of the noise around Boro's pre-season, the fact we hadn't won in pre-season, we hadn't kept a clean sheet either. And I think just the whole talk around the lack of signings, us being unprepared, the question marks around the manager, I think it was just, and paired with, I think, what is a tough start on paper, just to get that win in the bag, first game of the season yesterday, one way or another, I think is absolutely huge. And there is a lot to work on. There are a lot of positives as well. I just think, given all the change at Boro and the transition, as we've mentioned, from Carrick to Edwards, I think it would have been unrealistic to expect a really crisp, free-flowing performance yesterday when there's still so much work that needs to do in the squad, and there's injuries and there's fitness and all the other things. So I think the result took so much more of an importance for me than the performance yesterday. Hopefully that will improve, that will come. But I think just to get that win on the board one way or another and a clean sheet, as well as quite a few positives that were definitely there to see, I think it is a big result, maybe bigger than it felt at the time. So happy, a relief. I think I feel relieved that we got off to a good start.
Yeah, and we will get into the positives in this show, don't you worry. I think mine is that it's a good first step under Rob Edwards. There's still so much to learn about this Middlesbrough side, though. I think the team that took to the pitch yesterday will be quite different to the one that plays most frequently this season, and then the squad as well. I think there'll be a vast difference when Boro's transfer business is sorted. I think we still need strengthening considerably. That doesn't really change despite the result yesterday, but we are on the board. And I also think for Rob Edwards, he's been so used to losing over the last 2 seasons, with Luton in the Premier League and then Luton in the Championship last season. I was intrigued to see how that would kind of play on him, but he's got off to a winning start, which is really important as well. So yeah, positives to take, a good start, but still so much to do, so much to learn, so much to know about this Middlesbrough side. We will get into the Swansea game then. Dale Fry's header on 51 minutes separate the two sides in Handsome Rob's first match in charge. Open question here. What did you guys make of that performance yesterday?
I mean, like I said, there was things to improve on, definitely, but there were a lot of things I enjoyed about that. I think out of possession looked a lot more organised, and I think that was shown with the clean sheet. I think towards the second half of last season, we were definitely the type of team that would have found a way to draw that or worse, and make it quite difficult for ourselves. But no, I thought defensively really, really good. And for me, that's what I wanted to see from Middlesbrough team. as someone who is who prefers possession-based football, I was a little bit uncomfortable with the amount that we let Swansea have the ball. And just for any Swansea fans listening in, this isn't minimizing what you guys were doing, because letting you have the ball could also mean turning it over the amount that we were and long balls forward. I wasn't as comfortable seeing that from my team, but I did think moving forwards we could have created a little bit more. We did have a couple of decent long to longish range chances. Obviously Morgan Whittaker hitting the crossbar in the first half. Hayden Hackney had one in the second half, which was absolutely going top corner if Swansea defender didn't get the head on that.
Yeah.
So the scoreline could have been a little bit wider than 1-0. But overall, I didn't think Swansea threatened, and I think our defence really, really helped with that. I think we looked more dangerous off set pieces, but where I can see some work being needed is the attack and transitions and chance creation up front. One thing I will say I was really happy with, and this is something that I spoke about on the season preview show, is during pre-season we obviously haven't recorded a win. We've conceded a lot of late goals in pre-season, and there wasn't a lot of emphasis based on actually seeing the games out, which again made me kind of uncomfortable, because I'd always like to say that whether it's a game that matters or not, I'd like to see it taken to in the same style as how we would play. I want to see the same levels of application there. If we're 2 goals up, see it out. So the fact that yesterday we went into it and we saw it out, you could see on the touchline we had Free Stripe and Watlin constantly, going to Rob Edwards and speaking to him. Rob Edwards would give the instructions out. That's what I saw. They might have actually been giving them out themselves as well, but seeing that, the fact that we've then gone on to see out the game, we've been a little bit smarter in our decision making. I was very, very happy to see that. And if we can see that 45 more times this season to the point where we are successful, I'll be even more happy to see it.
Yeah, I share the same sentiment as Tom. I come out of the game and it wasn't the prettiest of games, and of course, I would like my team to be a bit more creative and generate more chances and be a bit better on the ball. But I come away from last season just thinking to myself, I'm so over wanting to see the nice tippy-tappy sort of style of play. I want to see effective football, winning football, and I'm over Boro being a nice team to watch, but having nothing to show from it. So although there is definitely improvements that are going to need to be made in them offensive departments, I did also see a lot of positives in terms of how we didn't really give Swansea any big chances. We didn't put ourselves under any pressure. We didn't make any huge errors at the back. I recall Solbrin making one save from a header first half. Not much else of note, really. I don't think Swansea were great as well. I've got to say that too. But going through a pre-season where we were shifting goals quite a lot, and I wouldn't say we looked all that convincing at the back. It was really refreshing to actually see us just in a full-on championship fixture on opening day just be so reassuring. And that's what sort of surprised me second half, especially. The set-piece goal was great, and I think we've got to kind of expect that now. It's a fantastic little addition to have in your armoury, I guess, and it can make the difference. And if we can win 3 or 4 or 5 games via a set-piece, it'll make such a big difference to our points tally this season. So it's a great little addition to have in your armoury, I guess. But the big thing for me second half was I didn't feel anxious at all. I was sat there and I was reassured with how we were managing the game. Second half, I saw players drawing fouls. As Edwards has alluded to quite a lot, we're keeping the ball as far away from our goal as possible. I know there's people behind me getting frustrated that we were just booting the ball back into their half. But for me, I'd rather it be there than us trying to fiddle around with it in our half. If we're managing the game and seeing it out, get the ball as far away from our goal as possible. So I didn't feel at all worried that we were going to do anything stupid. Even when the 6 minutes went up at the end, calm, felt good. So Yeah, it's not going to be as nice on the eye, I accept that. But as Tom said, if we see that a lot more often, I really don't mind. So, yeah, definitely reasons to be positive. I think we've seen a lot of improvements off the ball. Still need to be better in other areas, but I saw a lot of stuff yesterday, a lot of characteristics from this Boro side that I've been willing to see from us for a long time. So I just hope we can build on it.
It's quite the positive for you to be just calm during a game, Matt, because you were quite a twitchy ass last season when we were 1-0 up. To be fair, I think a lot of Boro fans were, because we did seem rather vulnerable under Michael Carrick. So that was good to see yesterday. I think the overriding positive from the game is that we won it. From a spectacle point of view, wasn't the greatest game. I'm a fan that values entertainment as high as results, so hopefully the entertainment will come. But our backline didn't look faulty. You know, we didn't give up much, and we scored from a corner. So, yeah, Don Goodman, hopefully he was aware of that, so he could call us a set-piece team like he thought we were in about 2020. I think there are things that we obviously need to improve upon. I don't think Boro really got Tommy Conway in the game so much. He had 23 touches yesterday, which was the lowest amount of anybody that started of a Middlesbrough persuasion. We did also create very little from open play, an XG of 0.15 per foot mob. And I think you don't really need the XG to know that. We had that chance through Whittaker that hit the bar, and then Hackney's shot that was blocked, but I don't think that'll register on the XG anyways, because, you know, it got blocked before it went towards goal, or as it was going towards goal. But these are things that I think Boro will slowly piece together. It is game one of Rob Edwards' tenure, and I think Boro fans probably just happy to see us actually see the game out and get a win. It was fairly poor quality on both sides of the coin, Boro and Swansea, at least in possession, but out of possession, much more assured. I quite liked the flat back five. Little question marks, I would say, maybe moving forward with the midfield too. They have to go through a lot of work during the game, Hackney and Morris. But I suppose with Morris, you've got a Duracell battery there, and Hackney also does his bit off the ball as well. So, yeah, there's obviously positives. There's improvements to make, no doubt. But it's good that we won the game. I will not take that for granted, because for the longest time we were searching for that first win, first game of the season. Obviously, we got it last season, ironically, again against Swansea, the exact same scoreline. But it's fantastic that we've gotten on the board. We've registered the 3 points that have often eluded us in a pretty sticky opening phase of the season in previous campaigns. So that is the absolute positive of that game. Speaking of like the tactics and kind of our observations from that match, was there anything? Well, there were obvious differences, but what did you guys pull out as differences from what we've been used to from Michael Carrick's tenure to what we saw yesterday against Swansea?
More long balls, and by that I am meaning like diagonals as well. It's not just the you know, hoofing it forwards. I know from playing out from goal kicks, we did go along a few times, and that's where I can see maybe us strengthening. I say strengthening with a different option, who can win the balls up the pitch. But yeah, there was that, and I mean that's going to come with how the season goes on. We're going to get better at that. Like I said, the diagonals, Luke Ayling was doing it a bit. Callum Britton did it a fair few times, trying to reach Silvera over the left-hand side. I did like that, because I feel like it does open the play a little bit. I do think, because I know obviously we are looking for a left wing back. We've been linked with Max Arston from Columbus. If we were to sign him, I think Silvera has done enough to kind of earn his place in the team, but I would prefer to see him over on the right hand side, because what I was finding with the diagonals from Ayling and Britain, Silvera always wants it on his right foot, and he'd kind of get it, and the first touch wouldn't be particularly great because he's having to adjust his body to receive it. I think a lot of the time he did manage to come out with a ball somehow. It was reminding me very much of when we had like Ishmael Miller playing for us, and he'd be dribbling forward and you'd be like, nah, he's lost that ball. He's knocked it too far ahead of him. And then he'd somehow still come out with a ball. You know, I think yesterday, like the effort from him was great, but I think he would be more effective on that right hand side. So if we do get another left wing back in soon, I'd like to see that and have him be the competition for Britain. But yeah, I think that going along from goal kicks, and as you mentioned, well, as was mentioned earlier, like clearing it out from the back to keep it as far away from our goal as possible. I was thinking while that was being discussed that, you know, how many goals or chances did we give away last season trying to play out from the defence to midfield. So yeah, although I would always prefer to see us have possession, it's probably going to be unnecessarily evil within this system. But yeah, those were the three kind of positive things, and I think as has been mentioned before, the chance creation needs to improve, but it will. The more we play this system, the better we will get, and the more we kind of strengthen in those forward positions, the better we should get. And I mean, strengthening can come from players returning from injury as well. I do wonder how McGree and Azaz would fit into that forward line.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder, because obviously you've got those two number 10s, but there's about 4 players competing for those with Bergsorg, Whittaker, McGree, Azaz. It's going to be interesting to see what Rob Edwards kind of plays most this season. Obviously, it depends on availability, and McGree just simply hasn't really been available the past season and a half or so. But I think what I noticed from yesterday's game, we may become more pragmatic, which I think is something that we have maybe needed in the last few seasons. As I mentioned, off the ball, we've changed from a 4-4-2 that we saw under Michael Carrick to 5 at the back, 2 in midfield, and then kind of 3 attackers. So, as I mentioned, it will be interesting how Boro play it if there's a midfield 3 of the opposition, because we could potentially get overrun there. Maybe you pull the wing backs a little bit forward to make more of a 3 and a 4 out of possession. But I think on that kind of same trail of thought, much more aggressive, at least in the opponent's defensive third when they're building up from the back. Seems like Boro trigger the press this spring. They want those high turnovers. Wouldn't be surprised off the back of that if Boro are ranked pretty highly in high turnovers. I just hope that we can maybe translate those into goals as well, because I do like when Boro enable counter-attacking situations, and that could be one of them. Yeah, I think we did go longer. It was a bit more mixed. I don't think it was solely long ball, but the big difference that I saw within that is Tommy Conway. Under Michael Carrick, he even referenced it himself in pre-season. He would roam to the left-hand side. I think that was something, a kind of tactical imprint that Michael Carrick wanted, because we saw it with Latte Lath as well. But Conway, I think Rob Edwards wants him working in and around the box. One of the things I noticed from last season, Conway is good at kind of dropping a little bit deeper to receive, play an opposition player in, a teammate in, and then trying to enable Boro to build from there. He's actually pretty good, I would say, with his back to goal, just laying it off and letting the play progress from that point. But Boro need to make sure that they get Tommy Conway involved, and specifically in the box as well. We've got a question later on in the show that kind of centers around Tommy Conway, but that's kind of the things that I observed from yesterday's game. And also, I just want to mention width, because back end of last season was a big problem with width. I think we were too narrow in our play, but actually seeing players get chalk on their boots close to the touchline was really good to see. Think that will open up and improve further. We'll probably get more crosses into the box. That's something that I wanted to see yesterday, but didn't really see. But you've got Sammy Silvera on the left, who isn't really a left wing back. And I still have question marks over whether he's at the requisite quality for championship level. And also right wing back, you have Cam Britton, who's barely had a pre-season with us. He's basically just come through the door. So that'll improve. But Matt, you said Dale Fry would be Boro's first goal scorer of the season, and he was. Congrats. You didn't get the score right though, so you were halfway there. Do you reckon we're in for a big season from the Lighthouse?
I really hope so, and it was great to see him have the armband yesterday, 10 years on from, I think it was exactly 10 years on, wasn't it, from that Preston
It was,
debut in the promotion season. So maybe an omen, maybe a bit of an omen there. But it was great to see him lead his hometown club out. And I think he's been here so long now. I think people they often maybe overlook how much Dale Fry has how many appearances he's had for this club and how much of a servant he's been already. I don't know how old he is, but I still feel like he's only like 23. It's crazy. But yeah, I really hope it's going to be a big season for him, because we've seen already in pre-season we are so much more effective from set pieces. I mean, that was our 5th or 6th goal from a set piece. If you include pre-season, Dale Fry's 3rd. I mean, I missed the goal. I was too busy looking at Johnny, which tells you all about what I do. Spend my time doing at the game. But yeah, it was great to see him getting on the score sheet. Great to see him celebrate afterwards. And I do hope it'll be a big season for him, not just defensively, because he is going to win the Golden Boot. And I'm sure if I choose to do what Tom does, and if I put Dale Fry to score any time on every week, I'm probably going to be a millionaire by the end of the season. So that's something.
Oh no, you will curse it. Never mind the mold curse. There's also the Matt curse. The Matt curse exists as well. So don't do that, because the goals will dry up.
Okay, I had Alfie Jones to score any time yesterday, and it didn't happen. So maybe if I don't bet on him next week.
Yeah.
Oh, you deserve that, to be fair, because the whole fans were like, he's not strong in the air. Tom heard that and went, well, we'll see. We'll put him on his bet.
80-1 says otherwise.
God's sake.
Yeah, but regardless, I think it'll be hopefully a good season for him going forwards. But I also think defensively, he's been solid, and I think he suits being the centre of a back three. And I think his form throughout pre-season and starting off yesterday has been really solid. And so far, touch wood, don't want to curse it, he stayed fit. So I would like, if he can stay fit this season, it hopefully will be a big season for him. But I'm delighted for him yesterday. Good start for him. And yeah, I don't see any reason why it can't be a big season for him at both ends of the pitch.
Jam Spangle on Blue Sky said, am I misremembering one of you suggesting Dale would get 10 goals this season? And do you now think you went too low? Matt, that was you that said that.
Yeah, I think I've gone way too low. I think you'd double it. You maybe even triple it. I did say Golden Boot. So, hey, yeah. Why not double down and say he's going to get 30? Aidan Flint, eat your heart
Dale
out.
Fry break Appom's record this season.
I was thinking that doesn't score again this season.
Oh God, don't
on
say
Fry. On Fry, he did have the captain's armband yesterday. Rob Edwards said that he's likely still going to pass it around to promote leadership. They were his words. What are your guys' thoughts on that, on passing around the captain's armband?
I thought it was a really interesting reasoning behind it. I was listening to his interview on BBC Tees where he was like, yeah, just kind of like, well, I'm probably still going to do it. It's not the norm, but I want to try and promote the leadership. And I don't know. I mean, willing to give it a go if he thinks that'll work. I think we've got leaders in the squad. Dana, you said yesterday on Tees you were listening to the way Fry was talking in his interview, and you changed your mind slightly on him, thinking yes, he is actually a leader. We've got Darrell Lenihan, who when he comes back, he's definitely one of the more vocal leaders in the team. To other extent, Morris has had it, Conway's had it, Hackney has had the captain's armband in the past. So yeah. Interesting concept. See how it works. Hopefully it does work.
Yeah, I was really happy with Fry's interview. Honestly, if you haven't listened to it, I definitely would on BBC Tees, BBC Sounds. I've always seen Fry as more of a reserved figure, that he's not really a talker, but his personality shone through in that interview. And I think it was so good to hear that. And yeah, I did kind of come out from the back of that interview and hearing it, thinking, yeah, he is one of the leaders in this team. He's been at this club for 10 years. Red Faction had a banner held aloft that said 10 years Dale Fry, and he said he was getting emotional about it. I think he's just blossomed so much at this club, and it's kind of been great to see that, because for a long time Dale Fry was just he was there and he was performing, but I don't feel like he was standing out. And it was probably under Warnock, I think, that he really started to just, as I said, blossom in this side. And it's kind of gone from there. And obviously he's had his injury issues, which is a massive shame. But I remember when he came back last season, I was reminded of Dale Fry is actually a good defender. Like, he's actually a really good defender. And if he can stay fit this season, it would be brilliant. On the captaincy point, I do think if Lenihan was fit, it would be his, right? It makes sense. But Matt, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the passing around of the captain's armband, because Maddo post-match was saying he would rather have it so that it's on Dale Fry and that's it, and he's the club captain. But I don't know, what are your thoughts on that?
I would like us to get the club captain appointed pretty quickly. I don't want it to be passed around too early on in the season, but I think as an idea, I really like it. I thought it was a great thing to do in pre-season, especially. And I remember Rob Edwards saying that he wants them to all be leaders. He wants to have 11 leaders on the pitch if possible, and giving each one of them the armband is a good idea for him to see if they can fill that role and they are capable of doing that. So if it gives everybody a little bit more responsibility, gives them a better idea of what each player can bring, then I think it's a good idea. And again, it's the running theme I'm seeing is there are a lot of things that I think Rob Edwards has clearly identified from last season what Boro weren't good at, and he's trying to fix them issues. We've already discussed quite a lot of them on the pod today, and I think another one of them is, we were crying out last season for them leaders on the pitch, them characters to, maybe help the team, help the boys grind out a result if necessary. So if this is going to help them develop that characteristic, I guess, then I'm all for it. So I do agree with you though, D. I did think yesterday, because I think there was a little bit of anticipation around who was going to have the armband. I would have thought Lenihan if it would just be, I think the perfect guy to have it, and he probably would be my choice. So maybe when he is fit, it will be Lenihan, and that'll be it. And until he is fit, maybe it will get shared around a bit. I don't know, but I think regardless, I would like it to be given to one individual. So there's clarification on that. But as an idea, from what Edwards has been doing, I think it's a really good idea, and I've been all for it.
Yeah, it's an intriguing tactic, I think, from like a psychological point of view, because how will the selected captain deal with the pressure and the responsibility? Will they prosper with it or will they falter? I think that's interesting. I mean, in an ideal world, I think we would like to have Lenihan back fit and then he would be the captain. But yeah, big conversation around the Riverside, and just the discourse around Boro last season was the lack of leadership. So I think it's a good intentful thing that Rob Edwards has come in and he wants to try to, as he said, promote leadership. So we'll see what comes of that. But I'm quite happy with Dale Fry being the captain for now if it does kind of stick. Tom, there were 3 new faces that played a part yesterday. Alfie Jones, Callum Britton, Abdullah Kante off the bench. How did you think each of them fared?
I thought Alfie Jones was really solid at centre-back, and there was one standout moment for me with him, and I believe, was it second half? No, I'm confused now because we changed ends in the first half. So yeah, it'll have been second half. I think a Swansea player tried to put quite a powerful cross in from the right-hand side, and he just got his head on it and it headed out for a throw-in. But what I was most impressed by was the fact that his head didn't move. He didn't flinch. He didn't even sell it afterwards. It was just like, yeah, that just bounced off my head and went out, like proper slab head move. So, yeah, it was, I thought he was quite solid and had a good debut. And like I said, that moment really stood out for me. Callum Britton, I think he was solid. I think there's a lot more to come from him, though. I think, as has been mentioned, he didn't really have much of a pre-season at Blackburn Rovers, and I do think yesterday he was maybe the victim of a little bit of disjointed passing, which, as we mentioned, that's going to improve as the games go on. But there were a couple of 1-2s attempted that didn't come off. If they had come off, he'd have been free down the right-hand side, and we might have been able to see kind of more in terms of his crossing ability and stuff like that. So, but otherwise, I thought he had a really solid debut. And then when Kante came on, I did have to laugh about like your South Stand pretty much cheering every touch from him and stuff like that. I was like, have I missed something here? News-wise, like, I mean, he had a song
I
after
thought
about
that as
2
well.
minutes, and yeah. But yeah, he had his own song after 1 or 2 minutes on the pitch, and I was like, all right, fans' favourite already. But no, I thought he did really well when he came on, and look forward to seeing more of him throughout the season.
He didn't have those horrifically long white undershorts on either, so he must have.
No,
and he doesn't speak. He doesn't speak great English, it seems, but someone must have given him a nudge on that.
He listened to the podcast last week, and
Yeah,
he's just like, people have picked up on my undershorts straight away.
I found Dill Fry's comments hilarious after the game. Didn't he say, like, he introduced himself? He said, of course he introduced himself to a new foreign sign. You're right, mate. I'm Dill Fry. And I think Abdullah just went, thanks. It's just brilliant. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that was great, that. Honestly, I think when I look at Kante, I just feel uplifted. He's just got that like kind of vibe and that energy of him. He's just happy to be there. And yeah, I thought I'd missed something, Tom. I was like with you. I was like, well, I'm not mad at it, but why is like Kante why is he the subject of this kind of fangirling or fanboying in the stadium? But I was quite happy. Hopefully it kind of allows him to settle a little bit. He probably didn't have a clue what was going on, to be honest, but still, it was it was great to hear it. Matt, a not so new face, but a returning player nonetheless, Sammy Silvera, starting the season as Boro's left wing back. Edwards said post-match that Boro will look to reinforce those wide areas, which is understandable. But how do you think he played yesterday against Swansea?
Yeah, I can't knock Silvera's effort and application at all. And I think you can just tell that by pre-season. I think Edwards, there was a quote from him where he said Sammy actually came into his office, spoke to him and said, I want to be here. I want to be a part of the team. So I can't knock Sammy's attitude, I guess. He's come back to the club. He's not had a great 12, 24 months on loan, and he desperately wants to make things work. And he's probably saw this as a big opportunity with a new head coach coming in. He's not playing in his natural position. And I think he's doing his best, if I'm honest. I think he's always trying to make things happen down that left-hand side. He's always trying to beat a man. He's always trying to get past him, get by. I think when I compare him to like a Micah Hamilton, I think Hamilton he's got that Pep Guardiola in him. His first instinct's always to pass it off. Silvera's instinct is to always try and make something happen. And I really respect and admire that. I think it's obvious, though, the quality is probably the issue there. His first touch isn't great, and I think there was a lack of quality from that side yesterday. But I really admire his attitude coming back, and I think he's probably earned himself a place in the squad, I would say. Definitely, we do need as you often say, a specialist, I guess, in that position, who is an out-and-out left wing back. Who can deliver more at a sort of high-end championship level if possible. Maybe Max Arfston's that answer from Columbus Crew, don't know. But I think just in terms of him coming back, getting into the team, doing the best job he can, fair play to him. I think there is an understanding, and Edwards has probably even admitted it in a sense already, that we do need a better player there. But he's done himself no harm, Sammy, and I think he's earned himself a place in the squad, and that's credit to him.
Any more positives from that game that you want to mention? Because I thought the atmosphere was pretty decent, and I don't know if this is a utterly crap point, because like, what the hell am I talking about? But the South Stand seemed more together, because there was definitely a bit of division in the South Stand last season. But I don't know, it just felt a little bit more unified, which I think is really good. And also the chips and curry were good. I'll just put that out there.
I thought generally, like, around the stadium, people just seemed happier to be there, whether or not that's just because we've had a few months off and it's first game of the season, or it's kind of the start of a new era. But everyone seemed to be kind of really happy to be at the Riverside, and it's maybe something we weren't getting in the second half of last season. I will say I did have quite a fun conversation with a group of people at the bar in the northeast corner just before the game started. They were all podcast fans, so shout out to you guys if you were listening. And they were all backing me up on the white and blue tyre track away kit being much further down than it should have been. So, did my best on that one for years, but yeah.
I'm just glad that horrific blue effort that you really liked was not liked by them. I'm just happy that that's stayed where it is. Although some people liked it.
Yeah, I was going to say it might have been. We didn't know about that one, but I did actually. I didn't think I owned it, but it turns out I actually do. I found it in the drawer after the Away Kit podcast, and I was like, yes, this is one of the shirts that I inherited off former co-host Elliot. So shout out to Elliot for that one.
Yes.
And also, if anyone's wondering what we're talking about, go watch the Away Kit rankings because that was a lot of fun to record.
Yes, and we have a home version as well. Yeah, some people like that blue shirt. It was the 2009-2010, wasn't it? Away shirt. The kind of
great shirt. Fantastic.
It was horrific. It was horrific. You should have found it in the bin, never mind in your drawers. But Matt, any more positives from the game for you?
Well, I like that Elliot clearly hates that shirt so much he couldn't wait to get rid of it. And he wanted to give it to Tom because he thought, yeah,
he flogs it for free.
Yeah, I've got style. Tom doesn't have this thing. I don't want it. Yeah, no, I had a great day yesterday, honestly. I think the vibe around the ground was great. The pre-match atmosphere was great. At the fan zone, stayed back to meet Handsome Rob as well, which was always a delight, of course. But yeah, the atmosphere in the ground seemed good. I think Boro fans can just feel when a team is giving their all, even when the quality of the game's not that great. I think we know what appeases Boro fans, and that's players going into some hard tackles. There were some fantastic challenges yesterday. Fry and Jones loves a challenge. He was chucking himself into some. I mean, one challenge, I think it was, again, I'm trying to think of it was second half. I think he went into a challenge on the right-hand side and the ball nearly went out the ground. He absolutely twatted their left-sided play. It was fantastic. So I think there's little things with how the team are applying themselves that I think helps get the fans on side. And I think, just seeing the reception Kante got was it just brought such a smile on my face. I loved it. I thought it's just so nice for him, even though he probably is wondering what on earth's going on. But yeah, just to see us get off to a winning start and see the game out. And I think fans can acknowledge that a lot of the things we were maybe crying out for last season, we did see in part yesterday. So a good deal overall. Let's just hope we can keep it going.
Yes, a much more uplifted podcast than the last one. And if you are enjoying this so far, you can support us either a one-off or a monthly donation on Buy Me a Coffee. You can buy us a chips and curry. So just if you want to support the podcast, do make sure to click the link in our bio or scan the QR code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. But let's dive in to podcast questions. Podcast questions, you know where to find us. And if you don't, well, hello, we are the Boro Breakdown Podcast. Where have you been? So the first question is from Robson. He asks, do you think we'll move to a 5-3-2/3-5-2 eventually, rather than a 3-4-3 or a 5-2-3? Two strikers working together would cause defences more problems than we saw yesterday. Anyone got any opinions on this?
I think it depends on actually having the strikers to play that formation.
It does.
Really, at the moment, if we were to do that, we've got Conway and Force, and I would say, like, in terms of stature and in terms of the style of play, they are fairly similar. So I wouldn't say that's necessarily the best formation to go with at the moment. If we were to bring in someone like, say, I don't think we're going to go for this player, but I know we've been linked with him. That Salek from Cardiff seemed like a big guy, could hold up the ball well. Playing him with Conway might, have had its benefits and worked. If we were to sign someone in that sort of profile to play up front, which I kind of think we will. I think we kind of want different options up front, especially with how crossing's going to be a bigger part of our game. I mean, we should have wing backs with the ability to do, the low crosses and cutbacks, which Conway would benefit from. But we might have these games where we're playing against maybe a smaller defence who aren't as good in the air, and we can really exploit that and put a bigger guy up top. I fully expect that we would probably try and get that type of profile in as a striker. If we do, I think 5-3-2 could work. But until then, we've got a lot of options at 10. So I feel like this is probably the right formation for us if we're playing 5 at the back at the moment, which I think we will be.
Yeah, completely agree with that. I'd love that as an option, to be honest. Depending on the opposition and how many defenders they have or how physical their defence is, I would love the option to have a second striker alongside Tommy Conway. We saw at Luton that Edwards liked to have one really physical centre forward and then one that was maybe more of a poacher. But unfortunately, the makeup of the squad at the minute doesn't equate to that. As Tom mentioned, we've only really got 2 strikers. I don't think Edwards is that sold on Force as a central striker anyway. And even if he was, I don't think he would offer that much of a physical presence as much. So if we do bring one of a more physical striker, which I'd like to think we will, I'd definitely like to see that as an option. But then, as you mentioned earlier in the pod, Dave, we've got that many players who can compete for that 10. It would be tough to then have 4 options for one position. So I wouldn't mind it as an option in game if we want to switch it up. If maybe the one striker up front isn't working, maybe not something we'd start with all that often. But if we have the personnel to maybe alter that mid game, if our striker is a little isolated like Conway was yesterday, I think it would be definitely a great option to have.
Yeah, I would like to see that and how it would play, but obviously I think we've covered it there. It depends on incomings. This is a pretty big ask because this type of profile is either expensive or highly sought after, or both, actually. But if Boro can get a striker that is adept at holding the ball up and semi-good with the ball at his feet, I think that would have helped yesterday. I don't think longer balls up to Conway work unless he's running the channel, which he kind of wasn't yesterday. So maybe if we have more of a physical shipwreck up front and have Conway as one of the supporting forwards, because it's quite a narrow front 3, isn't it? They're not like wingers. They're like more inside forwards, if you will. Maybe it would complement better, but as we said, we don't have the personnel right now to even test that. Plus, you kind of want Conway in the box, don't you? But I still think that could work if you have that physical striker as kind of the centerpiece of that attacking trio, and then have Conway either on the left or right in that narrow front 3. Maybe that could work because I feel like you need runners either side of a big physical striker. Next question is from Andrew. He says, it shows in today's game Boro need a striker desperately. Do you agree? He also thought Conway was really poor yesterday.
Definitely don't agree that Conway was really poor. I just don't think he had enough created for him. He did everything that he's likely being asked to do in terms of pressing. The thing I noticed, though, he was having to come back quite far to actually get a touch of the ball. And it was backtracking to help in the midfield at times. And the passes I can remember from Conway were all backwards because he's supposed to be the one highest up the pitch, but he's having to drop deep to actually get a touch of the ball. I mean, I do agree that we need another striker. I don't think it was necessarily something that was shown from the game yesterday. I think it was evident anyway.
Yeah.
I think what was shown from the game yesterday was we just need to be a little bit better with our passing, improve the passing, improve chance creation. We might actually put something on the plate for Conway, but yeah, I think it would be unfair to say he was really poor. It's just we weren't creating anything for him.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. I think with his performance yesterday, I would ask the question of, did Boro give him good enough service? Did we get him involved in the game? Did his teammates provide that creativity for him? And I think the answer is no, because I'm going to play like the role of Johnny here, because I know that he would say this and I know that he has said this before, but a striker is only as good as the service that he gets. And for me yesterday, it was a bit sad to see that Conway wasn't involved, because what we've seen of Conway in a Boro shirt is that he's that kind of, I don't want to say scrappy forward, but he will nip in, he will try to get the ball, he will try to get himself involved, and he did still try to get himself involved yesterday, but it felt like a little bit of a fruitless task for him, because it didn't reap the rewards of that. So if Boro can connect that play a little bit better and get Tommy Conway involved where they probably should get Tommy Conway involved, which is in and around that penalty box, then I think that he will have a good season. And to be fair, we saw it in pre-season, the final game of the campaign, the final game of the pre-season campaign. He's working within that box, which is good for Boro and for him, but we just need to make sure that we service him, to be honest, and we give him that creativity.
Yeah, you've nailed what I was going to say there, Dee. That was the point I was going to make at the about the pre-season, the final friendly. I think yesterday just wasn't the game for him, but I really liked in the Deportivo game him staying within the width of the box. And if the wing backs can get down the sides, if they can get to the byline, if they can cut the ball back, his position was really good in that pre-season game. He was in the right place at the right time, and he was in a position where he could literally just tap it into an empty net. So we've seen it work, and I think it will work up against specific opposition if he is given the service. So yesterday wasn't on Conway. I think it was just on the type of game it was and the service into him. I think he's still a fantastic striker, and I still think he'll bag us a ton of goals this season if the service is there.
Yeah, completely agree. I like Conway. I think he will be in for a good season. He got 13 last campaign, which I believe was the most amount of goals scored from a permanent signing in the Championship last season. It was the best return of his pretty short career so far, as a first team player anyways. So we've got a good player with Conway. I don't think he was poor yesterday. I just think we didn't really get him involved in the game. We didn't really create too much for him, but that hopefully will come. Let's move on to Doncaster then, because the first game of Middlesbrough's EFL Cup campaign, this might be an interesting one from a personnel standpoint, because for me, I would love to see Law McCabe get some minutes. I have really enjoyed when Law McCabe has been in the Middlesbrough team. He's very confident and assured in possession. He's the type of player that can receive the ball with his back to goal or on the half turn and play forwards. He's like undeterred from press. Basically, there was a game 2 seasons ago against Cardiff where Boro were playing around with the ball at the back. He was getting pressed. We just lifted the ball over to one of the fullbacks, and Boro played out from there. He didn't look shaken. He didn't look pressured at all, even though he was being pressured. So I quite like his player profile. I would love to see him get some minutes, maybe even start. But what are you guys thinking about this midweek cup game? Do you want to see certain players play that didn't start in the game yesterday, or do you want to keep some consistency going?
Personally, I'd like to see the consistency. I think there are positions there where I think we can afford to rotate them out. I think Glover will be in goal. I think most teams will always kind of opt for a cup keeper, as it were. So I think Glover will get a game. I think in terms of the defence, maybe Alien out for Borges, but it'd be beneficial for Britain to get some minutes. Jones and Fry to continue playing. Silvera to still be playing left wing back. Maybe bring Kante into centre midfield to give him his first start and get some minutes there. Law McCabe could be a good one. Force potentially could get a goal, but I'd still like to see Conway up front for Doncaster. Maybe you can rotate out one of the 10 positions. I think especially if Law McCabe comes into it in midfield, I actually didn't mind what we did at the end of the game where we moved Hackney forward into that 10 position. So, maybe Hackney playing in the 10 position could be a shout there as well. But yeah, I think with these kind of early season games, like against lower league opposition, you might be tempted to like swap out a lot of the team and give the second string a run out. But I think you've just won against Swansea. Keep the consistency going. Keep building that winning culture. Put out a strong team. Make sure we get the win, and then go into Millwall off the back of 2 wins.
It is the EFL Cup, right? EFL Cup, Carabao Cup,
Yeah.
Identity Crisis Cup. We just call it the Carling Cup, don't we? We might as well just...
it'll always be the Carling Cup.
Yeah, nothing different. Yeah, Matt, what you kind of thinking about this game? Do you want to see... are you like Tom, you want to see that team consistency?
Yeah, I'd like us to go strong. Edwards has talked about creating a winning mentality. He mentioned that a lot in pre-season. I think it's a great chance to do that again. And I think, again, with things, in the attacking areas, as we've mentioned, maybe not quite clicking yet, I think this is a fantastic opportunity to try and build on that and help some of the new players bed in a bit more, maybe build some partnerships with Jones and Fry, as Tom mentioned, and just give the players another opportunity to adapt to what Edwards wants to do. So I'd see it more as an opportunity to improve in them areas rather than just play a second string side for the sake of it. I know fitness is something that's going to play a part in managing the players' minutes. I get all that. But yeah, you can swap the goalkeeper. That's no issue. But I think if we can keep a lot of the defence as is, I think it will just help them build that cohesion. Midfield might be okay. I think, yeah, McCabe and Kante, I'd like to see them two play. Then I guess it does depend on how we rotate the 10s because we have got a bit of an injury crisis up there. But I'd keep Conway in. I think if you can, same with building a winning mentality. I think if you want to get your number 9 into a rhythm of scoring goals, it doesn't matter who the opposition is. If he can get 1 or 2, it'll give him some confidence going into Millwall. So, although the temptation, I'm sure, is to rotate the team, I don't think we've got actually that much depth to rotate the team fully anyway, even if we wanted to. But I wouldn't just do it for the sake of doing it. If we can keep that momentum, taking it through this game into Millwall, keep the team strong, get another good, strong win, I think it can only benefit us on the whole, as long as no one gets injured. I guess that's the only worry, isn't it?
Touch wood, nobody does get injured. We could really do without that. Predictions then, what we thinking? Doncaster nearly promoted. They were champions last season in League 2. What are we predicting? What are we feeling for this game, score-wise?
2-0 Boro. I'd maybe gone
goal
more.
Scorers?
Dale Fry again, and you know what? Go with McCabe as the second.
I'm feeling Finch in this game. I think 2-0 Boro, Finch will score, and Hackney as well. Matt?
I'm going redemption for Stoke, and I'm going to go 5-0.
Oh,
why
God,
not?
Stoke game. That Stoke game. You know what? In the end, in that Stoke game, I just remember Red Faction were having a party, and like fair play, but hopefully we can have a party for better reasons. Not like we're going to have a party in the first round of the cup, but still much more positive, hopefully. Any goal scorers for you? 5 of them.
Dale Fry to get all 5. I'm right on the Dale Fry golden boot train. Hey, Ballon d'Or, give him the ballot. Let's go all out. You know what? He's going to score again. Why not? I like McCabe, and maybe 2 for, I'll say, Conway. And there's a 5th as well, because I've gone all in. Morgan Whittaker. He'll bend one in from the top corner from God knows how far out. So
yeah, we're still waiting for that. Still waiting for that first Morgan Whittaker goal, although he did get an assist. He did put that beautiful corner in for Dale Fry yesterday, so that's positive. But that is it for today's episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider, and also give this video a thumbs up as well if you're watching on YouTube. We will be back in your ears next Sunday for, just to review the week's events. Fingers crossed it's 2 more positive results for the Boro. But until then, take care and up the Boro Breakdown.